Well, those were the headlines we've been tracking for you this evening on What's Brewing. Global venture capital firm Accel today announced that it has raised a $650 million early-stage fund dedicated to supporting bold founders in India and Southeast Asia. 16 years after opening its India office, Accel's latest fund, its eighth in India and Southeast Asia, will partner with early-stage founders to build disruptive, category-defining businesses that create meaningful impact. To elaborate more on this, joining me now is Barath Shankar Subramanian, partner at Accel. Barath, welcome to Startup Street. Now, like I mentioned, Accel's latest fund plans to fuel the next generation of category-defining startups. How many startups are you looking to invest in with this fund, and in what sectors? Also, what will be the ticket size of the investments you make?
Thanks, Shruti. Thanks for having me. We are very excited about this fund. This is our 16th year in India. We've been primarily early-stage investors. Our core philosophy has been to partner with companies, bold founders, working on really visionary, disruptive ideas from a very, very early stage. And we'll continue to do that with this fund. This is our eighth fund for India. And our thesis areas essentially span across four broad categories: consumer, AI, fintech, and manufacturing. So these are the four broad themes that we're excited about. And we have multiple different ways of partnering with companies, from our early stage fund, from our Atoms program. And we are super excited about the next decade and beyond for India.
All right. The ticket of investments, can you tell us how much that would be?
So we start very early. So with Atoms, it's anywhere from about $250,000 to $1 million.
Okay.
And from our early stage fund, we can invest up to 8, 10, 12 million per company.
All right. Like you mentioned, Barath, Accel will continue to partner with founders in AI, consumer brands, fintech, and manufacturing. But I believe you have also identified subcategories of focus within each of these themes. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah. So for AI, essentially, the way we're looking at the market, India is the #2 talent market globally. We have 15 million plus developers. So there's a lot of talent, to build in the AI space. Within AI, we are specifically looking at enterprise AI. These are platforms that enable enterprise AI use cases using agentic technologies, LLMs, SLMs, services as software. AI startups essentially taking advantage of India's large IT services capabilities to provide better automation. And then vertical AI, this is essentially what vertical SaaS was before, but these are startups essentially taking advantage of India's large AI talent pool to integrate AI into vertical specific use cases. So that's on AI and some of the areas that we are looking at within AI. On consumer, there's a very large internet user base in India, over 900 million plus, over 350 million transacting users, and about 40 million plus affluent households. So within the consumer segment, we're essentially looking at three broad categories. Barath, which is essentially the 100 million households in tier 2 plus India that are becoming more and more addressable thanks to the digital rails that have been built over the last decade.
Okay.
Then India native models. So these are essentially Indian consumers who are expecting higher levels of service, leading to uniquely Indian business opportunities and aspirational brands.
Okay.
So that's within consumer. Yeah.
All right. Barath, let's now talk about some trends that we're seeing. While India's public markets have grown 3x over the last 10 years, VC-backed companies represent less than 5% of the market capitalization. Now, with over a dozen companies listing last year and more than 24 startup IPOs lined up for 2025, what is your view on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great evolution, right? So a decade back, a lot of the questions that we used to get was, do public markets really look at startups? How will they value them, reward them? That has really changed. So we have a healthy stream of companies that are now prepping to go public. I think, what has flipped in the last 4 or 5 years is, founders now coming in and, telling us that, hey, we are now actively and seriously considering going public. Let's work towards this, right? So better unit economics, more sustainable models, and then access to public markets funds to build something that's more long-term and enduring. I think these are the changes that have happened in the last few years, and we are very, very
Sure.
excited about that.
All right, one final question before I let you go. If you could quickly answer that. Accel's early stage scaling program, Accel Atoms, that you also spoke about earlier, now in its fourth iteration, has supported 36 startups today that have collectively raised over $200 million. In the past 2 years alone, Accel invested in over 27 AI startups in India or by Indian origin founders. What does 2025 look like for Accel?
Yeah, for Atoms, essentially, we are running two cohorts now, AI and Barath. So these are two streams where we're actively looking for companies, founders to work with. And we will continue to sort of look at new thematic areas. And the way we do it is essentially a prepared mind approach where we work on thesis areas that we think will be material and relevant for India over the next decade and essentially come in early. And Atoms gives us a way to do that in a fairly swift manner.
All right. On that note, it's time for me to wrap up our conversation. Barath, many thanks for joining us today on Startup Street. Wish you the very best for all your growth plans.